Story 1. Can I just eliminate cancer? That sounds like a good idea. Or maybe prevent people from getting sick by strengthening everyone's immune system and making it smarter so that it does not attack things it is not supposed to. Story 2. I would somehow evolve teeth so they would not decay quickly, would not fall out, and would have no issues. It is the most annoying part of the human body in my opinion and is very expensive to fix. Story 3. Make karma real. People are rewarded for being kind, and those who do evil are justly punished. Story 4. Delete religion and racism. This would cure 90% of war. In my opinion, that may not be one thing, but perhaps we can combine them into one. Story 5. If I may, I'd like to propose a biological change. I am going to make men able to get pregnant as well. I would love to see how the world changes. Would the law treat rape the same? What about abortion? Will the way men dress change? What about male birth control? What about the costs to give birth? I would love to see what the world becomes if men could get impregnated. Story 6. I would make it so every politician and policymaker must live the same way the poorest people in their district do. For example, if someone from Indiana wants to be a senator, they must live on the exact minimum income level of someone in their state who receives supplemental security income. No investment income, no stock market investing, no fancy paid cars, just a bus pass. They would have no government allotment for lifetime health care. They would receive Medicaid and whatever it covers, nothing extra. They must also live in the same type of residence someone on that income in their state could afford. If that meant homelessness, we could make an exception for a shared housing situation where they get a bed similar to a homeless shelter but a little safer. This would quickly motivate them to improve people's lives if they were forced to live like the poor. Additionally, politicians would be prohibited from lying. If they tried to lie, their mouths would start filling up until they told the truth. The flow would only stop when they began to tell the truth, allowing them to speak honestly. If they continued to lie, the flow would never stop again. After leaving politics completely, the restrictions would end except for repeat liars. They would not experience the full effect again, but they would always have a lingering consequence. Story 7. Every time a human lies, they stub their toe or hit their knee in that special spot that really hurts. I know all politicians would be wheelchair-bound. Story 8. Dental and vision are part of healthcare insurance, bundled and priced together. No more 3 separate deductions. Story 9. I would love if humans could turn excess fat into electricity, effectively ending obesity. Ate too much last night? Transfer some to the air conditioning unit. Now you're healthy, and the apartment is cool. Story 10. Ensure that if your personal level of greed becomes excessive, you give everything away and then end your life due to shame. Story 11. In the anime Shinsekai Yori, humans have a built-in failsafe designed to prevent them from intentionally causing harm to others. Something like that would be useful, as many people get away with serious crimes and become presidents or leaders, while others roam the streets because the justice system fails to stop them from causing harm. A built-in mechanism not taught to prevent humans from willingly causing suffering or death. There is no gray area. If it is necessary to do this on a genetic level to stop people from being harmful, then so be it. Story 12. Redistribute the wealth away from the top 1%. They could be feeding many people in poverty with that money. Story 13. Everyone can experience orgasm. Nobody has deadened or inactive nerve problems. Nobody's orgasm is overly complicated to reach. There is still variety in what people are sensitive to, but it is there for everyone. Thank you for coming. Story 14. Instinctual drive to be empathetic, that is, kind and understanding. Everyone feels like one big found family, whether romantic or platonic. Story 15. The moral average shifts far enough towards chaotic good, meaning very tolerant good that also emphasizes personal liberty, that the average person who would have become a violent gang member now only engages in harmless internet piracy. Additionally, nobody is able to live with themselves if they have over $1 billion. Already good people will not be affected much, but the worst among us will be redeemed, and society will improve unimaginably. Story 16. Everyone shares money freely. And no one hoards money like a dragon sitting on a pile of gold it refuses to use. Story 17. Anyone who talks about someone else's experience or judges it without empathy and says, "It could not be that hard, they are lazy, they are just whining, I did not have to deal with that. In my opinion, I think they are being overdramatic," has to live that particular experience for 24 hours. Story 18. I will add fast self-healing and regenerating capabilities to our bodies. Say goodbye to prosthetics, most disabilities, and unnecessary costs for society so that people can fit in. Story 19. Provide quality early education universally, promoting emotional intelligence, critical thinking, and self-awareness. Story 20. Putting "I'm a racist" tattoo on the forehead of all racists. Putting "I'm a pedophile" tattoo on the forehead of all pedophiles. Putting "I'm a rapist" tattoo on the forehead of all rapists. Putting "I'm a murderer" tattoo on the forehead of all murderers. It would be interesting to see how much empty space is on some people's foreheads. Story 21. Remove the concept of God and religion from the human psyche. There was a television miniseries from the United Kingdom called The Second Coming that had this as a concept, and I always thought it was a great solution to many of the world's problems. Story 22. I would end racism. I want to see a world where no one is told or thinks, "I am superior to this other demographic. I should dehumanize or harm them in every way imaginable." Story 23. I came here to say make everyone autistic, but I see that many people have said they would give humans certain qualities largely represented in the autistic community, so that is pretty cool. Story 24. You are now required to take a basic civics and economics class. To vote, you must pass this class. The course content is neutral, covering the branches of government, revenue and expenditure, how leaders gain power, and how policies are made. You must also read and evaluate 2 bills to pass. Penalties apply for non-voters, but not for those who submit blank ballots to encourage passing. Story 25. Imagine there are no countries. It is not hard to do, nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Story 26. Everyone has 2 functioning sets of genitals. They just wake up with them the next morning. That would be interesting to observe. Story 27. We exist to survive and flourish as an organism for the sake of propagating our genetics. This helped get us to where we are today, but no longer serves us well as a species. I would do a full kernel rewrite, ground up, and totally overhaul the prior motivations driving us. Story 28. Remove the human ability to lie even to themselves. This is not the same as removing the ability to create fiction. I am talking specifically about the ability to pretend that something false is true. Story 29. The more power and influence you have over people, the more you are compelled to meet the needs of those you have power over, and the less you care about your own selfish wants. Story 30. Nothing. I should not have that power. I do not have the consent of the people I would be changing. I am not wise enough to fully comprehend the ramifications of any changes I would make. Story 31. Ban of all tobacco products. Growing tobacco, keeping tobacco, and selling tobacco are all banned. Smokers would eventually recover. Story 32. I would make kindness and empathy a natural instinct in everyone, something people feel automatically, like breathing. Story 33. Humanity is free of disease, death, and aging. We cannot starve, but we cannot break free of normal human emotion. We are not robotic. Instead, our cells replicate one-to-one with lossless quality. Those of us who are old slowly age back to a prime version of ourselves. Mental disease, including those born with it, is slowly reversed as well. Overpopulation is a mindset. We eat out of preference, but we do not need food to sustain ourselves. Water is the biological life force that keeps us healthy. It is a necessity, and we cannot live without it. Now, we can also process salt water and absorb the water while expelling the salt through urine. Story 34. Longer average lifespan. You start to get old around 200 years and can live up to 250 years. Think about it. How much will we have to change in how we view the world and treat everything with that time span? Story 35. People now have control over their fertility. If a man does not want to be able to impregnate people, he will not be able to. If a woman does not want to get pregnant, her ability to have a child is shut down until she does. Conversely, if a couple wants to conceive, they will conceive. Story 36. All of these are really idealistic. I cannot help but see the problems in them. Here is mine. Same size for all men 8. Story 37. Make political power have a strong price. Absolute transparency to the public. Leaders would have their bank accounts visible at all times. Cameras would follow them throughout the day, recording every detail of every meeting. At the same time, regular people would have, subject to criminal law, an extraordinary degree of privacy. Only someone with a genuine desire to serve the public interest would tolerate this, and Parliament would have maybe 3 or 4 people in it. Story 38. 100% tax on everything over $10 million. Celebrate and commemorate our geniuses, pioneers, and discoverers like saints. This would eliminate the cycle of capitalism that is driving us to disaster. Capitalism has killed democracy. Story 39. I would make empathy neurologically automatic. When someone else is suffering, your brain literally feels a tiny echo of it, no matter who they are. It does not matter where they are from, what they believe, or how annoying their voice is. You feel it. Would that fix everything? No. But it would make cruelty exhausting, indifference uncomfortable, and kindness a whole lot easier. Story 40. I believe karma should be the rule of law. If you do harm, then consequences will come to you, not to an innocent child. If you are racist, then you may face challenges such as epilepsy. Story 41. Nerves can heal and regenerate like bones or skin. This likely means that people with severed spinal cords could one day hope to walk again. It also suggests we could develop advanced prosthetics by integrating nerves with sensors. Additionally, people who have lost feeling or mobility due to nerve damage could one day fully recover and regain function and sensation in the limb. It is surprising that nerve regeneration is not more common in the human body. This capability seems like it should already exist. Story 42. Like a snap of Thanos' finger, I would erase all traces and any knowledge or memory of all religion. Story 43. Make it so once you get past $1 million, you become allergic to money. Anything over $2.5 million, you rot to death. No proxies. No offsetting. No messing around. No, it's in my boy's name. No loopholes. No company nonsense. If you have a large company, each person gets paid a percentage. Inflation or deflation do not obscure this measurement. You must use the money up or die. Goodbye top 1%. Hell, goodbye top 20%. You had your chance. Story 44. Make empathy a default setting in every human. Imagine how different the world would be if everyone truly felt what others experienced before acting. Story 45. I would reduce the population. The world is too crowded. Eliminate all the violent individuals first, whether convicted or not, such as murderers, rapists, and child sexual abusers. If that still does not remove half, move on to other categories like corrupt politicians. They would disappear. If that is not possible, I would give people gills. Story 46. Keeping people interested in reading books is important. I believe society would be better if we did not abandon education and reading. Story 47. Women can decide if they want to become pregnant. There is always some chance involved in pregnancy and health issues, but if they do not want to have a baby, they can choose not to become pregnant. No one else can know their decision either way. Story 48. All power must be somewhat equal. If a person becomes too powerful, they will be hunted down instinctively until they die. Story 49. Every individual feels the direct consequences of their actions. You make a bunch of people happy, then you feel very happy. You upset a bunch of people and you get the idea. Story 50. If a pregnancy occurs in someone who did not want it, responsibility is transferred to the other parent. When events suddenly affect everyone, it feels unfair. Story 51. Every child sex offender turns blue and then dies. Blue signifies their true nature. Dies reflects my disbelief in rehabilitation for these individuals. I believe this would eliminate a large portion of the world's male population, particularly those in power, allowing women to step in and address these problems. Story 52. Unite all religions into one based on peace and empathy. If people choose to believe in a deity, they all believe in the same one with the same set of commandments. Story 53. I would say you are allowed, as a customer service worker, food included, to stand up to difficult customers and respond verbally, such as in a call center. Story 54. Everyone realizes that amputating the foreskins of healthy babies is an atrocity regardless of the weak justifications of circumcisers. Story 55. Making it so every American company stops targeting women with shampoo, cleanser, makeup, fat loss, and hair removal advertisements. That way, women can be themselves and not feel terrible about not living up to beauty standards that are not universal. Also, I would like to see a world where full pubic hair and hairy armpits come back. So yes, I am biased. Story 56. I would eliminate Zionism without hesitation. I might make a few other modifications if I still have time, but I would sleep very well if this were the only change I could make. Story 57. Sterilize all men and let our species slowly exit the stage. I do not believe humans are a net positive for planet Earth. Story 58. Making cognitive dissonance a painless state so people will not rush out of the experience and will notice when they are doing it. Story 59. Humans are now marine mammals but retain all their other characteristics. Imagine mermaids without tails. They need to live in water, though. Story 60. Every person born from this moment will be incapable of ignoring the long-term consequences of their actions. Story 61. I would make it so every time a person lies, their throat begins to get dry, itchy, and raspy as they lie and continue to lie. Imagine how much better the world would be if those in power were forced to tell the truth. Story 62. Stop reproduction. We have caused significant damage, so it is only right not to pass our problems on to future generations. Story 63. Make everyone smarter by 100% and more passionate by 100%. All here to see how fast we invent ourselves out of existence, the amazing music and art, and the terrible and great that will come from it. Story 64. Give everyone the ability to fully understand a topic and all its intricacies just by looking at it. All its history, everything it relates to, whether those things are true or not, everything. Eliminate misinformation. Story 65. All penises have a default length of 6 inches and can adapt in size, becoming smaller or larger, based on the partner's needs. Story 66. Decisions that would harm others for personal gain would be met with a sudden explosive release of one's bowels. Story 67. Give every human a tendency, more or less, to want to do what is best for everybody. Not as a hard rule, but just enough to make the world a better place. Story 68. Your sense of taste is calibrated every hour to what your body needs. If you already have too much sugar, sweet is replaced with the taste of moldy cardboard. Story 69. Everything is legal all the time. Want to murder someone? Sure, but if the general population disagrees with your actions, they can legally deal with it however they want. You can attempt to break into my house, but if I catch you, Story 70. Immunity to all diseases. Capitalism and wars will remain, but we will at least remove pharmaceutical corporations from the equation. Story 71. Everyone can effortlessly understand, care about, and empathize with others' perspectives, no matter who they are. Story 72. We all collectively stop being harmful and start healing our planet and exploring space. Imagine the things we could accomplish if we stopped being greedy. Story 73. Humans can now control all of their bodies. They can grow limbs and organs, change genders, and increase or decrease muscle mass. Everything is possible. Story 74. People believe that every human was equal and equally important, no matter their gender, race, or age. Story 75. Condemn selfish behavior. Every time someone acts solely for their own benefit and personal advancement, it causes harm. People would only pursue their own interests when others can also share in the benefits. Story 76. No one will ever feel the need to hurt someone again. This excludes pleasurable hurting and medical care. You do not need to be a doctor or nurse for that. You can clean a wound even if it stings. Story 77. You know everyone is trying to make good changes, but I will be evil. Make everyone have zero empathy and be 100% selfish. Now everyone requires eating 10 times the amount, and they will continue to grow fat until they can no longer live. Story 78. Everyone is now compassionate. No more violence or greed, two of the biggest failings in humanity. An end to war and extreme wealth. No more rape or murder. Story 79. Hive brain. A central brain to which every person is connected. They would still retain their consciousness and autonomy. Now all society-level decisions will be made by the central brain after receiving input from the entire population and will make decisions that are best for everyone. For the first time in history, the actions of each person could be directed toward the common good of all mankind. Just imagine the kind of things we could achieve. Story 80. Remove all mass culture and encourage people to create their own entertainment. Instant cultural and spiritual renewal. Story 81. I would make the Supreme Court reverse their decision on the hanging Chads. Al Gore for the climate change win. Story 82. Everyone has the same color and body type. No, it is not white or black. Everyone is pale green. Now, spend a few hundred years finding something else to hate each other for. Story 83. It would change the whole feeling of indifference and make everyone see each other equally as human beings and nothing more. That alone would solve everything. People would start to love others for the simple fact of understanding that as human beings, everyone deserves to be happy, not just you. Story 84. Everyone else is here trying to improve humanity while I am just here wanting the stripes gene to function properly. Story 85. I think I would make pausing to think about an action an innate ability, as in getting ready to do something, but then pausing for a few seconds to consider the consequences. It will not force people to be best friends, but I think it will greatly improve how we treat each other. Story 86. Make it so every time someone lies, their shoes squeak for 30 seconds. Politics will sound like a basketball game. Story 87. Removing from humanity most, if not all, of the leadership of the United States of America Republican Party, all the way to the top. Story 88. I would remove the tribal, lizard brain, zero-sum game, and tendency for violence parts of our psyche that keep us fighting each other, trying to get one over on each other, and keep us apathetic to humanity as a whole. Just imagine what we could achieve as a species if we were not all so self-serving. Story 89. I remember watching an episode of Red Dwarf where they had a justice field that caused anything bad that someone tried to do to someone else to happen to them instead. I would implement that. It would be interesting to see if that helped the world become a better place. I think there was a later episode with a karma drive. Maybe that would be even better. Story 90. I would flip the brain's reward system so that people receive dopamine from learning and helping others instead of scrolling endlessly. Story 91. Everyone has a penis now. For women, it is positioned slightly higher than the clitoris. Homophobia would disappear overnight. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.